Thank you for tuning in to this edition of Community Insider. We are going to be talking with the grandchildren of Sam Grissom that once owned a store right beside what is now Rock Island Market. We're also going to talk about the floating swimming pool that used to be down here in Rock Island. That and more to come right here on Community Insider.
Yeah, just about, I guess it'll be roughly a mile, maybe a little over a mile from here as you go down to the river. Papa Grissom owned and operated a boathouse and a floating swimming pool.
Welcome to another edition of Community Insider. Join us as we travel Middle Tennessee, uncovering history and experiencing the adventure of unique stories and events coming to you inside your community.
Thank you for tuning in to this edition of Community Insider. With me are the grandchildren of Sam Grissom. What was the name of the original store that was here?
Grissom Brothers. Grissom Brothers was the name. And it was a general store on this very spot that we're standing in front of. And behind the store was a line of fishing camps where people would come. A lot of people from Nashville and that area would come and rent these camps and then go fishing down at the river. All right, we have a couple of keys here that went to the fishing camps that were located behind Grissom Brothers store building here, the general store that Papa Grissom ran. And this one happens to be to camp number 20. This one was camp number 6. It's hard to make out there, but we have 2 keys to those fishing camp that were behind the store, and Papa Grissom would allow them to stay here at some cost, and then he would sell fishing tackle, worms, minnows, had cane poles if they didn't bring their own pole, and so we're right on that location.
That's amazing. So this is where y'all also gathered at Christmas time?
Right, yeah, the house is just in the background here, and this is where all the family came to celebrate really all the holidays, Thanksgiving, Christmas.
Even made some up.
Easter, yeah. We had some marvelous Easter egg hunts here. I was never really that good at hunting Easter eggs, but we enjoyed it together.
Can y'all tell me about the floating swimming pool that you guys took part in?
Sure. Yeah, just about, I guess it'll be roughly a mile, maybe a little over a mile from here as you go down to the river. Papa Grissom owned and operated a boathouse and a floating swimming pool. People could tie their boats up at that location. They could get gas. There were things to eat, had all kind of candy, ice cream, cold drinks. There were 2 levels to that location, and in that location there would be like a ping pong table, bumper pool. You could come in your street clothes, get a basket and change out your street clothes with your swimming suit. We'd collect that basket and store it.
Mike has one of the big pens that they would issue the person, and they would clip it on their clothes so they wouldn't lose it, so that when they came to reclaim their basket, the numbers would match.
Oh, wow.
And he's got that with him.
Yep.
Oh, wow.
And also down at that location were camps that he rented out. I can remember as a young boy helping my Uncle Sammy and Uncle Dyer and Uncle Alan collect trash, sweep the floors, gather dirty laundry, and take it to get washed and working. But my reward in the afternoon was to get to go skiing. So that was what it was all about for me.
How old were you at this time?
I would say about 8, 9 years old in that age bracket.
And how old were you guys?
Well, I'm 6 years younger than Mike. Pam, our sister, she's right in the dead set in the center. She's 3 years older than me and 3 younger than Mike.
All right.
And I'm a few years younger than Mark, and all I remember is probably about the last year or two that it was in operation. With the swimming pool, all I remember is the part that I was swimming in had a wood side and wood floor under the water, and at that point it got real slimy. Of course, anything in the river is going to get slimy over time, but at one time it had a slide, I believe, and a diving board. They had
Water wheel?
The water wheel.
Yeah, there was a water wheel there. You could climb up a ladder, get on that big round thing, and it would roll you off into the water.
Ah,
Wow.
I don't remember that.
They hand-built pontoon boats at that point in time, and they had 3 or 4 of the pontoon boats with that would rent out where you could take out all day or go fishing on it. The whole family could go out for picnics or whatever and pull those up.
What were those suicide boats that they used to run on the river? I've seen pictures of Dyer and Allen, and it looked like a long board with a motor tied to it.
Yeah, flat bottom boat.
And they just
it was
raced
a fishing boat.
But no, it wasn't a fishing boat.
Well, not a.
This was like a redneck version of a cigarette boat.
Oh, okay. Well, now Uncle Alan made one of those. He built one of those on that lower deck of the boathouse. There was a corner back there where he worked on that for 2 or 3 years, and finally got it built. And that's probably what you're thinking about.
There wasn't no fishing on this. If you went to set your hook, you was flipping out.
Yeah, that's right.
It's strictly for speed and bouncing.
Now, how many children did Sam have?
They had
4.
They had 4 that survived. There was a daughter that was born and died at an early age. I don't recall her name.
Lila Jo.
Lila Jo.
Okay.
Lila Jo.
Yeah.
So there were 4. There was Alan was the oldest. Alan, and then Dyer, and then my mother, Mark and Pam's mother, Lois, and then Sammy. What was that?
Nanny Lois.
Nanny Lois, yeah. Now Granny Grissom was called affectionately Little Willie, because her name was Willie Louise Cale. That's who she was, and I've got one of those buoys that used to hang down at the boathouse that has Lake Rock Island Little Willie in quotation marks on it.
Now, we have the grandchildren here today. Who was your mom and dad?
My mom was Lois and Floyd Bailey,
Okay.
and that was Mark and Pam,
All right. Okay.
mom and dad.
And Allison?
I was Sammy's daughter, and Audra is my sister. She's the baby of all of us.
I'm the youngest grandchild.
No.
I don't have all the memories, just a few stories that I
Okay.
heard. So
And you?
My father was Dyer, and I have one other brother, Phil, who's already passed away. But Edwin Dyer. He was a head lifeguard for a long time down there.
Oh, really?
Trained a lot of lifeguards down at the pool.
All right. Now, did he have any children?
No,
He had no children.
No.
he had all of us.
he had all of it.
Yeah, he had all of us. And that was probably enough for him.
Alan helped run the boat dock down there, right?
They all did.
They all
Yeah.
did
They
at
all
some
did.
point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
And the general store and the restaurant that was attached to it on this side over here, there was a restaurant that ran back along the length of the building, and they all grew up working in that. And then of course the fish camps, and I think then the Corps of Engineer guys also stay in these rooms or in these camps right around here?
They probably did.
Or did they stay down on the river on those camps that
I'm not
Papa
sure,
Grissom
Mark.
had?
I'm not sure.
I think they did both, depending on what was available at the time.
So your memories of the floating swimming pool, can you tell me any fun stories?
My first memory of that is when I got thrown off of it to learn how to swim.
Yeah.
Do or die.
Do or die.
Now that sounds like Uncle Alan. That's the way I learned how to ski. He was the first one that showed me or taught me. He didn't show me. He said, jump in the water out of the boat, and I did, because you always did exactly what he said do.
Yeah.
And then he pitched the skis out there, and he said, now put them on.
And don't take too long.
Yeah, and if you were piddling around, he said, do you need me to come in there and put them on you? And then when he thought you had them on, he'd pitch the ski rope out and said, here we go, hang on. And that's the way we learned how to ski.
That's right.
Was that your favorite part of going down there is
I loved
skiing?
It, yeah. I love skiing. And that was one of my favorite memories of being up here, was especially if you skied in the early morning or in the late afternoon when there wasn't a lot of boat traffic. It was just very smooth and real easy to ski. You could ski and slalom. Now, Jeff's brother that's passed away that he mentioned a minute ago, Phil, that's another fond memory of mine, is watching Phil ski when he would ski. He was the smoothest skier I ever saw. He could really
It didn't look
ski.
like any effort.
No effort at all, yeah. He could really do it.
So did he take part in also instructing other people that might have came down to the boat dock?
He probably taught quite a few from the high school, didn't he, Jeff?
Yeah.
Phil
Yeah.
taught a few. I taught my sister how to ski. I took her on a skiing trip one time. I swung a little wide and took her through the willow tops, and a snake went right between her legs.
But back when the swimming pool was in operation, they did teach people who wanted to learn how to ski and stuff, because I remember some shirts being made up because they made us versions as we got older, like the Rock Island Swim and Ski Club.
Yeah.
And they said that was a drawback from earlier days when they used to do that.
So Sammy, tell me about Sammy.
Well, he was the baby of the family, and I'm the baby of all the cousins. So all this was gone by the time I came along. So all I have is pictures and some stories and things like that. But I have fun stories from Mike telling me how he followed my dad around and he would take him skiing, and the grandfather was Samuel.
Okay.
And then
Samuel Audra.
Samuel Audra, and my name is Audra. So I was named after him, but
that's
unfortunately he
sweet.
had already passed away by the time I was
He
born.
passed in
Just right
70,
before I was born in
1970.
72. So.
Where did you grow up at?
Chattanooga.
Chattanooga. All right, and this is your sister down here, right?
Yeah.
Where did you grow up?
Chattanooga. Audra and I lived in Chattanooga,
Okay.
and we would come to Rock Island, every time there was a holiday. And
4th of July.
yeah, 4th of July
lake.
time, and we'd spend a week here and then a week down on the lake, and things like that. Daddy just always told us stories about his main job when he was little was he had to come outside and pick up paper that people had thrown out the window.
Yeah.
And to this day, Audra and I, all of our kids, if anybody throws paper down, they're gonna hear it from us. Because he had us picking paper when we were kids too, if it was that, but that was his thing. He had to pick up paper, and then he'd walk over to the cabins and have to clean those up in the mornings. And
And that's what I helped with.
and Mike would go with him and help him. So.
All right.
And he liked to jump off the bridge down at the lake and right by the swimming pool thing and holler at his brothers and say, "Look at me," try to get attention. So that's all we know.
Yeah.
This is a black and white photo of the floating dock. This is a lifeguard certificate that was given to my uncle Sammy Grissom when he passed the life-saving certificate, and it's interesting to note that Uncle Dyer was the one who awarded him that certificate. He taught life-saving.
Who was your father and your mother?
Floyd, Bailey, and my mother was Lois. She was
Okay.
one of the 4 children.
All right. Was she the only girl of the group?
Yes, she was the
That
only girl.
what was that like for her? Did she ever tell you stories about it?
Well, she fit right in. She's a lot like my sister Pam. Pam grew up with me and Mark, and Pam could arm wrestle any boy on the street, out play ping pong or bumper pool or whatever she could. She held her own, and my mom was just exactly like that.
You didn't mess with Granny Grissom, you didn't mess with Lois Bailey, and you didn't mess with Pam.
That's right.
Pam didn't even have to do anything. She just evil-eyed you.
Yeah.
And you knew you were messing up.
That's right.
Do you want to tell us about your experience growing up here?
My grandfather kept everything neat and clean and pristine. And, I mean, he got down in all the blades of the grass around the sidewalks. Perfect. And you got to help him. It's not a job. You got a job. But now he fed you good. You never wanted for any food. And he would tell you when you get through, anything you want out of this store, you choose.
Yeah.
And one of the lessons I learned from him was always eat your dessert first. he said, if you're going to get full eating dessert, so eat that first. In the store building itself, Papa had these reminders of Rock Island, advertisement for Rock Island, to remind people of the beauty of the place here. He had sayings that he made up and would stamp those on hickory wood, and they would be in the store. People could pick those up and purchase them if they wanted one.
Now, Allison, there's a picture of you with your granny
That's right.
whenever the store was being dismantled. Do you remember that?
I believe I was 3. I just remember, seeing it. I don't remember being out there. I do remember it was a big deal coming out here, and the newspaper was coming, it seems like, and they come on, and my mom and daddy were probably standing out in the middle of the road watching us, making sure I was doing what I was supposed to do. Yeah.
That was a full-time job.
Yeah. Granny was excited, I think, that I was here to be able to do that.
Yeah. So can y'all tell me what the store was like? Do y'all have any memories of that?
I think Pam said it best earlier. Walmart had nothing on this.
It had everything, yeah.
Even a full library.
Yeah.
Really?
Had a library. You could get any kind of fishing gear, tackle that you needed. There was always plenty of cane poles, and most of the time they were put out front where you could see them standing up against the overhang.
Shoes.
Shoes.
Ice cream cones.
Ice cream cones. Yep.
At certain times during its life, it had a doctor's office at one point, also had a post office at one point.
Yes, that's right. I remember.
Oh,
That's
I do
right.
remember hearing about
Before,
the post
yeah, so Sam bought it in 1923 from what I gathered. Before that, they had a school here apparently. They had pretty much everything that you needed. Yeah.
And when I was younger, I guess the year or two before it closed, being up here in the wintertime, I remember the big stove sort of in the middle side of the store, in which had a couple of tables set up for the men to come in to either play cards or checkers or marbles, and most of them either smoked a pipe. I think that was a requirement almost. And
One of them named Leonard.
Leonard was one of them, yes. And my job was to run and get stuff for them if they needed it. That was the gopher.
Yeah, it was a big hangout place. I can remember a lot of those card games. The typical card game at Rock Island was pitch, and that's what we all learned how to play growing up, because that's what everybody played here, and there'd always be a lot of guys. And I remember one in particular who made his own cigarettes. That always fascinated me, because he'd pull out a pouch of tobacco and one of those little pieces of tissue paper, and he would lick it, and when he'd get that.
You shouldn't do that on TV.
Yeah. Well, everybody needs to know how to do that. Yeah.
So what kind of food did they serve here?
Oh, he kept something out all the time, and typically it was white saltine crackers. We called it rat cheese, which was like a Colby type cheese, but when I'm talking cheese, it was the big hook cheese, and he'd cut a big hunk out, and it'd always be sitting out on a table. You could go by and slice off a hunk of it. He'd keep pickles out or a little bit of bologna every once in a while. And if you came in the store, you were welcome to get and eat whatever you wanted.
Wow.
And if
That's
you didn't
amazing.
have any money to buy your groceries,
Yeah.
you just grabbed a paper sack, and you wrote the amount down, wrote your name down, tore that piece of paper sack off and stuck it on with a pin.
On the wall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's IOU. That's
Yeah.
pretty cool.
And if you were a regular at the store and he got tired and wanted to go take a nap, he'd put you in charge of the store and he'd go take a nap.
That's right. And that's exactly right.
Oh my goodness. So back to the boat dock and the floating swimming pool. How long did that exist? Do you remember?
Well, I know my mom eyed my future dad. Well, when Mom was in high school, which would have been around early 50s, 49, 50, 51 time frame, she was up at the swimming pool and saw my dad swinging blade in the weeds, and kept an eye on him until they got married. So, so it was a hangout late
Dyer was a big
40s and
strapping
50s.
man.
Yeah.
He was stout.
I mean, people from Knoxville to Chattanooga to Nashville would come in, especially the summer times. The H.G. Hill family that owned the grocery stores that built 2 big houses up here real close to where the swimming area was. Most of that closed down probably around probably between 68 and 70.
Mm-hmm. That sounds about right. Yeah. And it was really, a really busy place. I can remember being up here, helping Papa Grissom in the store doing whatever, and there would be, at any one time, 7 or 8 vehicles parked out here in front, and a lot of them would have their boats behind them getting ready to head down to the river. So this would be probably their first stop, to stop here and get their bait and tackle and that type of stuff, get their cans filled up to operate the boat with gas, and then head on down to the river. I can remember too, Papa Grissom actually handwriting out a fishing license on a paper sack and giving it, because he had run out of the official forms that you had to use. They had been so busy that day, and he didn't have any replacement.
Yeah.
So he wrote out a fishing license on a paper sack and handed it to him.
Now, how did you get down to the actual boat dock? Was the only way to get down to it by boat, or could you actually drive to it?
The swimming pool?
Yeah.
There was a walkway landside to get there from the cabin area that you could, some of it was steps, some of it was natural rock stuff to get down to it.
And from the back side of the boathouse, which was 2 stories, there were steps. So if you were in the boathouse, you could easily go down the steps and then get on the dock down there.
Do you know what road it is where you would be able to access that? Do y'all remember it all?
I don't know.
It was just, to me, it was the main road that took you down to the dam, and then the boat ramp was on the right, and then immediately after that was the boathouse and the swimming pool.
I see. Okay.
Where the new bridge has been built,
Yes.
on this end of it, it's sitting on part of where the boathouse would have been. So it was built right on the edge. This is a postcard that Papa Grissom had that people could get, and it has a picture of the boathouse, the bridge that went across from the boathouse to where the dam side is, And right in here would be where the floating dock would be, and people could tie their boats up and get gas for their boats and so on. It's built on stilts, and Uncle Dyer, that was one of his responsibilities, was to be sure everything stayed intact underneath. He was the engineer and builder, so that was one of his responsibilities, was to be sure. And I can remember being underneath that building, helping him hold stuff, where he would run a big auger drill bit with a big old drill and put new bolts in occasionally when they had to be repaired to help hold the building up. So
wow, that's a big responsibility.
Yeah, that was a big responsibility. But he knew how to do stuff like that.
That's great. So in response to everyone here, I'm so glad that the grandchildren can join us today to tell their story from home. So we look forward to seeing you inside your community.
He had sayings that he made up and would stamp those on hickory wood, and they would be in the store. People could pick those up and purchase them if they wanted one. We have a picture here of my mother, Mark and Pam's mother, Lois, who was the daughter of Sam and Louise Grissom, and that's down at the floating dock below where the boathouse would be. And you'll notice that it also shows the dam in the background that holds the water back for the lake, for Lake Rock Island. This is a postcard that Papa Grissom had that people could get, and it has a picture of the boathouse, the bridge that went across from the boathouse to where the dam side is, and right in here would be where the floating dock would be, and people could tie their boats up and get gas for their boats and so on. This is a sales ticket for Grissom Brothers General Merchandise, which would be filled out when people purchased, or if they were charging something. Papa Grissom did sell the items that he had on credit, and this would be placed in a place where people could pay it later. This is a black and white photo of the floating dock. What else, guys, do I need to show? This is a lifeguard certificate that was given to my Uncle Sammy Grissom when he passed the life-saving certificate, and it's interesting to note that Uncle Dyer was the one who awarded him that certificate.